Just a couple of days ago, the United States elected its 46th president in the name of Joe Biden, deputized by Kamala Harris. Zimbabwe has been under sanctions imposed by the United States for almost 2 decades now. Does the Zanu PF run government expect anything different from the Joe Biden run regime? We are about to find out from the War Veterans Secretary of the Liberation Struggle, Mr. Douglas Mahia. Among other issues, please tune in. This is Zim TV, and this is the agenda, surprisingly coming to you on a Tuesday.
Let me just go straight into something, into the discussion of today. This is almost 3 or so years after the birth of the new republic. What would you say about the welfare of the war veterans?
Not much was done because of reasons beyond government's control. The economy is tied up. The economy has failed to perform to expectations because of sanctions. So not much has been done, although we expect a lot to be done because of the indicators that are given by government in the socio-economic political platform. A lot is going to be done.
What would you say it was the better period?
It was a better period in that the war veterans today can make a contribution to the political developments of this country at a national level. That's what we think the president and the first party, the president and the first secretary in the ruling party to have done, because the war veterans are people who studied and went through political principles that were employed to attain independence for Zimbabwe from countries that fought similar wars. And those principles are the principles that needed to be adhered to from 1980 in order to emancipate the nation politically and economically. So the war veterans are on board now. Together with the people, they have a relationship, and that relationship is likened to the relationship of fish and water. And surely that is what defeated the enemy, and I think with this new development, the enemy will be defeated, and like we have always said, victory is certain. When the power of the people, which is Zanla and the Zipra force, which is the power, and the people themselves, this is what was employed for Zimbabweans to be independent, and they did. And so really, victory against our erstwhile enemies is certain, because the important forces are together again. So we will do that.
You're one of the people who played a very significant role that the Zimbabweans do actually appreciate towards the birth of the new dispensation. Are you happy with today's Zimbabwe? In particular, I will go back to the welfare of the war veterans. Are you happy yourself?
I need to be happy because war veterans usually are not happiest when things are normal. When you say things are okay, is what people may want to advocate for, or may want to think that it all is not well. And when it is not well, that is where we are most needed, because without that awkward situations, then to us it's not normal. When things are not very good, that is how normal it becomes to us, because that is where we are relevant, and we have always been relevant as input to the revolution or to the socio-economic development of this country. So I am happy because people, the president or the party, is allowed war veterans to come back again and fight against their usual enemy, which is the colonialist. So I am happy.
Let me ask you something. What do you think is the most challenging thing right now the party particularly on the side of the war veterans, are they facing right now? What is the most challenging thing?
The most challenging thing, there are many, but the most challenging thing is the availability of resources. It has not been possible for the nation to produce enough resources to meet the demands or the dictates of the Constitution of Zimbabwe with special reference to the welfare of the war veterans. It has not been possible because of that. Secondly, you must understand the fact that the revolution has got a principle that when you take over as government, you need to replace the enemy state machinery with the people's state machinery. What I'm saying is that the state machinery that you find today are not as schooled in the principles of the revolution as war veterans are. Hence, they apply the knowledge systems that they got from wherever they went to school, and those are not very good for the socio-economic development of the people. So that's the most challenging thing. That's one of those things that we find is impeding the progress that we expect.
I understand that one of the things that Zimbabwe was actually looking forward to after the birth of the new dispensation, which is the Second Republic, was, of course, the global re-engagement. But maybe before I just ask that, let me understand the status of the party from the war veteran side. Are you afraid that there are still reminiscences of the G40? No,
we are not worried about the remnants of G40. All we are worried, and what would worry us most is our capacity to deal with the enemy, because whichever category of the enemy one would belong, there is always a solution that should come from the war veterans and the people in order to secure victory. So that's that.
So you're not afraid that they...
No, we are not. We actually enjoy the game.
Because we read in the newspapers that the parties are still having some reminiscences of the...
No, that's the expression. That's the expression.
Much worried about those people.
No, that's the writer. It's just the writer. Don't worry. It's just the writer. We are not worried about anything. After all, we are the most experienced people in as far as fighting against the white man is concerned. We are the most experienced. And we know who they are, starting from the opposition, because they were created by our STYL enemy. Because the war veterans were not in, the war veterans were outside for 40 years. They have not been contributing. So it created a vacuum where the enemy could do as he pleases. And he did that. In actual fact, the enemy had been defeated. That is why he called Zanu PF to the Lancaster House Agreement. And I've always described the Lancaster House Agreement not as an agreement, but a military strategic retreat in order for the enemy to reorganize. And so he got that chance when the war veterans were out of the whole thing, and he organized it for 40 years. This is what we are going to undo as war veterans.
I'm asking you this because I understand how critical a role the war veterans play for the unification of the party and to advance its interests and all the aspirations of the people. You do have a large base, particularly even in the rural areas, to be precisely. Mm-hmm. But let me just confirm from your office, are we not going to see the reminiscences of the G40 for the last time?
Don't worry about the remnants of the G40 because they existed and they cannot automatically disappear. They will disappear systematically.
Okay, let's move on to the issue of re-engagement, which was one of the things that you were looking forward in New Zimbabwe under President Emerson Mnangagwa. How would you give the marks if you were going to be given an opportunity, given a red card? What would you say?
Yeah, sure, 75, 80, 75, 70, 75, 80.
So are you happy with the re-engagement agenda so far?
Well, it's a struggle. You see, Zanu PF is engaged in a struggle, and a struggle is not all about, the leisure things. It's not like that. There are difficult things that we need to overcome. There are difficult things and sometimes even dangerous things to do, but we'll always achieve. Those are the apparatus that we use to achieve the objectives of the party.
I understand that it was President's wish and hope that Zimbabwe would find itself in a better position, of course, before the United States and the British, or Britain in fact. What do you see has been the hindering factor for Zimbabwe to improve its relations? But it seems like
it's not like we should always be washing our faces and become white in order for the British to accept us. We've got to remain Zimbabweans and continue to be Zimbabweans and do things according to how Zimbabweans can do their things best. And that is what Zanu PF is doing. The re-engagement program is happening. It is happening in the sense that you had much earlier on that the president was making all efforts, to try and become a member of the Commonwealth again. And you have had the president trying to invite the British to come, and he says, we are open for business. That's the engagement and the re-engagement. And this is what we are doing. In fact, I thought you were going to tell me why the British and the Americans and the other people cannot accept the open hands that the president has offered them and come on board to develop Zimbabweans, to develop Zimbabwe as a nation and allow Zimbabwe to be part of the global family again if they are democratic. What it means is that they are not democratic enough because baselessly they do not want to accept a peaceful guy who is saying, here we are, can we work together?
But what do you make of their contribution towards assisting the masses, the vulnerable people who are facing drought right now, shortage of food, and they have been intervening even in times of crisis? You saw their contribution in Chimanimani, the Manicaland, when Cyclone Dai hit that area, and you saw their contribution, which continuously manifests itself even in terms of trying to mitigate challenges of HIV and AIDS and so forth. What do you say about this?
It's not right for any nation that is in its correct sense to wait for a disaster in order to assist the people. It is only assisting people because there is a disaster. But when there is no disaster, it means there is no relationship. So we cannot cry for disasters in order to get assistance. After all,
no, I was just giving you examples.
Yeah, it's okay. I got to tell you. So the contribution that we may get from either for COVID or for Chimanimani, that has nothing to do with the economic development, because the nation must always try to be self-sufficient. We don't have to depend on handouts from other people. No, because the moment you do so, you are offering yourself to be a slave of those people.
So are you suggesting that they should have kept themselves back or withhold their assistance?
No, it's unfortunate. You need to be a journalist who understands the direction that we are taking. Assistance, COVID assistance or Chimanimani disaster assistance is assistance that is got from funds that are already there. For your own information, it is the funds that Africa contributed to. Excess funds in Europe. So the truth about it is there are funds that we worked for.
Let me ask you something. I just want your opinion, because Zanu PF is a governing party. That's not disputable. Whatever that will come out, it could be just banter. But Zanu PF is known. That's the ruling government. But let me precisely on the issue of the re-engagement. I mean, I'll seek your opinion on your fellow comrade, what he has said, Comrade Shinamasa. Just a couple of weeks ago, he described the United States Ambassador, Brian Nichols, as a thug. Do you think that's the language of a governing party that is ready to engage with other countries?
If Shinamasa had not called him a thug, you would have not heard the Americans speak. And being called a thug cannot be equal to what the Americans and the British are doing to our people when they refuse to lift the illegal sanctions. So being called a thug with its weight and the suffering of our people because of sanctions, which one outweighs the other? No, so you don't have to expect Rachina Masa to speak like he's like a boy speaking to the headmaster. No, you cannot expect that. We are a sovereign state.
In one of his press statements, he said if the British and the Americans continue with that regrettable path, we will, through our legislature, mobilize tough measures on their surrogates and psychophants here. Our parliament is ready and our people are ready. We are tired of being punchbags of this Uncle politics. This is a governing party that seeks re-engagement.
Governing does not necessarily give people a certain status that is expected and classified by their detractors. No, in fact, our acting secretary for information has been very professional by producing that statement. Now, if you hear it from the war veterans, now is, if Rachina Massa and the leadership of the party allow us, we will give sanctions to the Americans and the British. It won't take them 2 years. It won't take them 2 weeks before they've called us to a negotiating table. And this I want to assure you.
The US has elected a new president, Joe Biden, just a couple of days ago. What are you looking forward to? What type of relationship do you look forward to?
Americans are Americans. Do you know that they are white? They will remain white. So their principles, their way and understanding of black people does not change because we have a new president. We will be surprised to see Joe Biden acting differently from his predecessor, from Donald Trump, for example.
So
if he does so, we praise God and we'll then start speaking in the producer statement there.
This is something that you're looking forward to. You're looking for a better relationship, isn't it?
Yes, we must. We expect that to happen, but we know it has happened in Guatemala. Nothing happened. The Americans are the Americans.
Okay. Let me engage on something on the very subject which is topical and which is the gospel of the president of zero tolerance to corruption.
Yeah.
Do you think the party has made advances in terms of making sure that these principles by the president are satisfied?
A lot has been done, and there is this anti-corruption commission which has been given arresting powers, which it did not have before. So it has been given some autonomy of some sort to act against the corruption. But there has been 40 years of people corrupting. So we cannot expect
Corrupting
that.
with impunity.
Yeah. Nobody is going to get away with it. And you must understand that when governance has a way of doing things, not the way maybe the journalist may want it done, to wake up tomorrow and you find that there is no corruption at all. Zimbabwe is not different from other countries. South Africa, you have heard about COVID funds being stolen, the Reserve Bank of South Africa, and many other countries. It's just something that happens in society, but our president is committed to ensure that corruption comes to an end, and his policy of zero corruption will be further enhanced as war veterans start to make their contribution on the political platform.
There has been high profile of people from the ruling party, the Zanu PF, who have been indicted of corruption. Can mention the former tourism minister, Priska Mpumira, former health minister, Obadiah Moyo. I can give you a list of these people.
Yeah.
You as war veterans, do you still have hope that corruption will end and not and continue to have people from the ruling party being implicated in corruption cases?
I think you must applaud the president for doing that, because for the past 40 years, I don't know whether you can remember high-profile people being arrested for corruption. So it's a starting point. Something is already happening, and we are in the process of doing that. And I hope more is going to be done. The other thing that you want to understand is that this country is being governed by the Roman Dutch law, and our lawyers and our judges are schooled in that kind of a law. And you know very well it is very difficult to administer justice in these laws, unless if we migrate to Chinese kind of laws and things like that. But we are still captivities of that kind of law.
Given these examples of people who have been implicated in corruption, do you think these are the only cases, or there are still other cases that are not yet to be known? Do you suspect?
Well, if there are other people, we will see them. We will cross the bridge when we get there. But if they are there, it's now the duty of the institution that has been created for the duty for that, which is the.
And because of these high-profile people that I've mentioned to you, do you think the narrative out there, particularly on social media, that say the ruling party is corrupt, is it justifiable?
It's not justifiable, and there is no way any government can control the social media. You cannot control the social media. The social media is the minds of everybody, the mature, the ignorant, the sane, the insane. It's all found in the social media. So there is no truth. There are a lot of half-truths and sometimes total lies and so on. So don't worry about the social media. But government, the president, is committed to eradicate, to totally bring corruption to an end or reduce it substantially.
Let me quickly ask you something which has been topical right now, the arrest of Rushwaya. After he attempted to smuggle gold, he was caught at the Rara Robert Mugabe International Airport. I just seek your independent opinion on that case.
Now let's wait for the courts. They will tell us exactly what happened, and then we start commenting.
But do you think that's an isolated case in terms of leakages?
I've not heard Rushwaya is only one. I have not heard of another Rushwaya. So really, I can only talk of Rushwaya because she has been arrested for that, and there is this thing going in the courts. Why can't we wait for the courts to do their job?
And you have heard one of the suspects actually implicating the First Lady and son in this case.
Well,
what do you make of it?
You also heard that he was trying to get away with it by using the First Lady or the First Family. He was simply trying to use the First Family in order to get away with it. You also heard about it. So I hope you will believe that he was just trying to use the First Family and just like that, but that's not the truth. What would stop the First Family or the president if he wants to smuggle anything out of the country? What is it that he doesn't have? Who takes care of his baggage? Who searches the president or the First Lady's baggage at an airport? I mean, I don't understand the Zimbabweans. I think we need to correct our pattern of thinking, because if she wanted to do that, she would have done so. Because nobody would know, but she doesn't do that because she's not corrupt at all. The president is not corrupt at all. They are actually trying to stop corruption from happening.
Let me get something. The issue of the by-elections. I know right now your party is seized with the district coordinating committee elections. Am I right?
Yeah.
So in the understanding of the conduct of those elections, how safe are your members from contracting the COVID-19 virus?
Very safe. Measures are being put in place, I think, to ensure that everybody does so, but very safely. You are aware that it is Zanu PF whose government has got a Minister of Health.
I understand also in December you are scheduled to have a party conference.
No, we are not going to have a party conference at all.
Well, what are you going to have?
We are not going to have anything because of the pandemic.
Okay, but let's talk about the DCC elections and the issue of the national, the by-elections.
Yes,
that media is banned.
Yeah, that's what. That's why I am saying we are going to have those elections, and when we have those elections, measures will be put in place, or the commissariat and the Department of Health, Secretariat of Health here, and the Ministry of Health are going to work out a methodology to ensure that people are safe as they do so.
So if the party can manage to actually ensure the safety of members who are participating in elections, surely ZEC can also have that capacity, isn't it? To ensure that the electorate...
ZEC is a government institution.
Yeah, but I'm just...
But it's not...
If the party can afford to ensure the safety of its members...
No, it's a matter of how you understand it. But ZEC is a government institution, and an independent thing is but Zanu PF has got... Zanu PF itself is an institution and government arms. But ZEC does not have the political aspect, because it is the political aspect that creates will and a consciousness within people in order to act against whatever is there.
But do you think they don't have capacity to conduct safe elections?
I think you would rather find out from ZEC themselves. I do not know how they do their things.
But you don't believe they've got capacity?
Believing is simply faith. And faith are just things that you hope for, but not material.
So I think I must appreciate that you have afforded us time once again to speak to you, and maybe I will just ask you the message that you have to the people of Zimbabwe during this pandemic. What can you say to them? What should they do? Something like that. You can. They
need to adhere to the calls or the instructions that are being given by the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health in order to stay safe. And I think Zimbabwe has done so. If you compare with other countries, we are faring much better. So that's the story. So people must just continue doing that.
If there's one more interesting last aspect, the issue of we read in the streets that there is factionalism is resurfacing in the
factionalism?
Yes, we read that.
I'm not sure whether that pen was wrote well. Factionalism in Zanu PF. I'm not sure, because I wonder why people would really... I don't know whether they find joy when they hear of Zanu PF being factional, or they are not happy, but there is no factionalism in the party at the moment.
Okay, thank you. This was the Secretary for Veterans
of the Liberation Struggle.
In the Politburo, Douglas Mahia was speaking to us on Newsem TV, and thank you so much for continuing to follow us. And please, for more of these and other stories, log on to our website www.newzimbabwe.com. Do follow us on Twitter @newzimbabwe.com and like our Facebook page newzimbabwe.com. Until next time, for now, it's bye-bye.